Okay, starting a little mini series here on TikTok, and it's going to be called Without GLP-1s because I work with a lot of women who just simply cannot afford or they're not a candidate for GLP-1s. And a lot of them do feel hopeless. They're just like, oh my gosh, why can't I get Ozempic or why can't I get on an GLP-1? And they start out like this. And then once we get going on their program, it changes. So this first video, I want to talk about insulin resistance without Ozempic or without a GLP-1. This is something that I have personally dealt with. In the video that I made about Serena Williams and GLP-1s that a lot of people didn't like, I shared that I had to lose 40 pounds naturally. And of course, there was no GLP-1 for me at the time. And I wouldn't have used it anyway, but I experienced insulin resistance. And what that means is even if you exercise and eat well, your body doesn't manage carbohydrates very well. So you don't lose weight if you eat carbs. And in fact, it's very difficult for you to lose weight anyway. So I was at a point where, because I had dieted so much, I developed really, really poor insulin resistance. And then, really a strong insulin resistance. And then I gained 40 pounds. So I was 180 pounds. And during that time, I was very insulin resistant. So no matter what I did, I just couldn't lose the weight. And so again, there were no GLP-1s and I tried everything. And by everything, I mean keto, vegetarian, low carb, high carb, low fat, fruitarian, like eating only fruit, juicing. And I would lose a little bit of weight, but it wouldn't go down. And I had insulin resistance. So I was like, okay, I need to give my body the opportunity to repair itself, because when your insulin's not working or your pancreas is not working properly, your body has to repair itself. So here's what I did. Number one, I made sure that all of my meals had a protein, carb, and fat. So I ended up eating like 4 or 5 meals a day. They had a protein, carb, and fat. And I did this so that my blood sugar wouldn't go up and down like this throughout the day. So a lot of people will say, oh, snack on an apple. That wasn't going to work for me. If you have insulin resistance, do not snack on an apple. Like that is a bad idea, right? Because of the sugar, it will shoot your insulin up, right? Your numbers up, your blood sugar up. So I couldn't snack on like fruit. Okay, that's something I can do now, but I couldn't snack on fruit at the time. So I would have all of my meals had to have protein and fat to blunt that blood sugar response, right? So that was the first thing. So breakfast, lunch, dinner. If you go to my Instagram, I have a list of breakfast, lunches, and dinner. You have to scroll down a little bit. My Instagram is the same as this. I think it's Joanna Joy _ with an I. So I did that. Number two, I strength train. And I strength train like weight training 3 days a week with like actual weight. And I did like squats and things like that, body weight squats, the days that I didn't work out. And the reason is because I was simply trying to blunt that response. I wanted to become more insulin sensitive. When you weight train, you become more insulin sensitive, which means now your body can use up the glycogen instead of storing it as fat, right? Your body can use up the sugar instead of storing it as fat, in a simple layman's term. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but that's a simple term, right? So I started strength training. I was like, okay, I may not lose weight immediately, but I have to strength train. So I strength trained 3 times a week. I did like 3 full body days, sometimes a 4th one if I didn't have time. You have to remember, I was a teacher. So like I did not have, and I was like one of those teachers who just was terrible with time management. So I was just like constantly working. So I strength trained for 3 days. If I had a 4th day, I would as well. And then I did my meals and drink a ton of water, and then I made sure that I got rest. So I slept 8 hours. I made sure that I was regulating my nervous system. I did a lot of walking, not a ton of like high intensity cardio, but a lot of walking. And that took me, just that alone, I probably did that for like 6 to 8 weeks before I even noticed a difference. Yep. Because it just took my body time to recalibrate itself. So I did that and I just stuck with it. And then finally, my body started to move. The scale started to move. So I picked up my strength training and I picked up my walking and I stuck with that for a long time. Other things I did for my insulin resistance is I made sure that I was drinking apple cider vinegar with water in the morning, not for detox, but there is some benefit to having apple cider vinegar because it helps your body with the carbs, with sugar. So this was before like berberine or anything, you guys. Remember, this was like before all this other stuff came out. So I was literally just doing whatever. So I'd have apple cider vinegar in the morning with like 16 ounces of water, like a teaspoon, because it is acidic. Like you can't just, I don't get how people just like drink that by themselves. So I did that in the morning, and that helped quite a bit. But the main three things was walking, strength training, and eating. And I have to tell you guys, it did not happen quickly. It took time. And I think that's the hardest thing about weight loss for people, is just the time that it takes and the feeling that it's not working. Like, we are such liars. One thing that I had to recognize is like, okay, let me see off the scale. But if I look at my clothes, are they fitting better? Yes, they were. It took time though. And so it's very possible to manage your insulin. Another thing, I didn't do this, but I've done this with my clients, is after breakfast, either do 20 squats or go for a walk. After lunch, 20 squats to go for a walk. After dinner, 20 squats to go for a walk. That's going to, again, control that blood sugar. And insulin resistance is all about controlling your blood sugar. So that helped. Now, so if you have insulin resistance, that's something that you can begin to implement. And again, I cannot promise you, you guys, that it's going to happen quickly. It didn't happen quickly for me, and it doesn't happen quickly for my clients, but it takes time. And so if you're willing to take time, because here's my thing, if you can't afford a GLP-1 or your insurance is not going to take it, you have two options. You can either keep doing what you're doing and keep gaining weight, or you can try something else. And I'm all about try something else. And that works for me and my clients. So you can manage your insulin resistance without Ozempic or without a GLP-1, but you're going to have to do those three things. You're going to weight train minimum 3 times a week. You're going to eat your meals with protein, carbs, and fats in them. Okay, you're going to limit your sugar, not your fruit sugar, but like your processed sugar. And then you're going to walk after your meals. You're going to do squats after your meals. Okay, that is how I did it. It took time, but that's how I did it. And so if you're willing to be patient, you can do it too. All right, you guys, if you enjoyed this, please leave a comment in the comment section below. If you guys have questions, that's fine too. I understand this may not work for everybody, but this is for the people who are like, I don't have any other choice. Like, I don't get the option of using a GLP-1. This is for you guys. Oh, last thing, I did not do this because I was not, this was not around when I was going through my issues, but a lot of my clients seem to do pretty well with berberine also, with their insulin resistance. And I don't know if I have a video about that, but if you have questions about that, you can just put that in the little comment section. But a lot of people do well with berberine for insulin resistance. Again, not a magic pill, just sort of supports what you're naturally doing. All right, guys, that's part 1, and I'll be back for part 2.